Hello everyone, and welcome to this new video where I will share with you my gardening techniques, how to create zones and how to cultivate. So this will be a tutorial video where I will explain to you my methods, which for me are the most effective, the simplest and the fastest. I'll also talk to you a little bit quickly about what I've been through. To arrive at these techniques, like many permaculturists, if not most, I went through the techniques. Mounds, we buried dead wood under the mounds, we made lasagna beds, we did quite a few things. And today I've moved away from all those methods. I don't use them at all anymore, really not at all. I don't make mounds anymore, I only make growing beds, and I don't do lasagna beds anymore either. So I'm going to explain to you the simplest method, in my opinion, which is the fastest and most effective. I know that many of you really enjoy learning about gardening. Turnkey I&C techniques are those where someone tells you what to do and it's simple, effective and works. It's not possible, it's very difficult. If you see a video or course saying, do this, it works, be cautious. Be careful. Soils, climates and people all differ with unique techniques, so not everything always works. So here I'm going to explain a method that in my opinion works in many cases, but you have to be careful to adjust it. Adjust it based on soil type. Methods and timing will differ depending on the soil. There will be times when it's easier, times when it's harder, so you'll have to adapt. I'm going to talk to you about my techniques here on land. Sandy, silty or silty sandy, in any case very low in clay. If your soil is very rich in clay, you'll need to be careful. The only one, no. The big difference with clay soils is that they react differently to moisture. There will be many periods when you can't, or at least shouldn't, touch your soil too much. If clay soil is too wet and you work it or walk on it, if you step on it, you'll compact it and you'll create lumps of soil. Very, very hard ones that might take you years to get rid of. So on clay soils, be careful. Next, I'll give you a few tips throughout the video to make it even more fertile. But just know that this video might be pretty quick, pretty simple, and you can go explore. I'll put some links over here, or you can look around the channel a bit. I've made quite a few video series on the technique of green manure soil fertility to really understand how to make your soil fertile. All of that, of course, should be taken into account. Here, I'm also not going to talk to you about crop associations. I'm not going to talk to you about plants. Just know that these are techniques that I use for most of the things I plant. And it's how we develop these cultivation areas that will be different depending on what we grow there. If it's for a perennial plant area, we create it at the beginning and then it changes. Not for fruit trees and all that, it's the same for vegetable garden areas. Well, we're going to work on it again and try to see a little bit how we can make it evolve. That will be detailed in other videos. That's it, that's the creation of the area. There you go, I think I'm done with the presentation. Alright, let's begin. Grab your broad forks and pitchforks and we'll see what tools we need. Then let's go. So I was saying that this method is pretty fast. Let's see, for a growing area, let's say, I don't know, I'll make an estimate. But a garden bed that's 5 meters long and usually about 1 meter to 1.2 meters wide, in half a day, taking it easy, it's in a day, in a full day, you don't do the whole garden, but almost. So it's pretty quick. There are other methods that take a bit longer, especially for weeding. I'll summarize quickly, but that's not what we'll see in the video. If you want, this fall, for example, here I'm doing it at the beginning of summer. If this fall you want to create a growing area, you can already put down a plastic top or anything, or cardboard. Make sure it stays in place. At least until the fall. Just smother it, block out the light over the whole area, and this fall when you remove that cover, well, all the weeds underneath will be dead. It's a method that takes quite a long time, it takes several months, but at least you don't have to do anything. That's pretty simple. So now let's get back to my method that takes half a day. So you'll need to weed. It will be different depending on which area you're starting from. I'll show you on an area that's between fallow and meadow, but whatever the area is, whether it's a lawn, fallow land, wasteland, if there are grasses, roses, whatever, you'll have to remove the grass first anyway. First part. And I'm going to tell you about the only tool you'll need to do this. You can use a second one, the claw, but the only tool I use for this is a fork, a digging fork, to loosen the soil For larger areas, use a broad fork. It works well. First, if it's a lawn or a fallow area, you'll remove most of the grass on the surface. Personally, I usually run a lawnmower over it. If the grass is a little high, just so we can access the area, if the grass is a little high, we'll mow the width of the growing area and at least the width of the paths on the sides. Because once you start working on your growing area, the area where you'll put your plants, you won't walk on it anymore. You'll need to stay only on the paths, so you mow the growing area and the paths on the side. Or you can mow with a scythe or, well, with whatever tools you want, but in any case you clear the area. It's not mandatory if the grass isn't very tall, it's not mandatory. If you're not afraid to walk in slightly tall grass, you can just crush the grass with your feet, that works too. On the paths and growing area, even if the grass is tall, just remove it. It's not a problem if they're not cut. I do it since this grass that I mow, that I cut, I keep it aside for later. You can do the same thing. If you don't mow and you just weed, all the weeds you remove while weeding, you keep them aside anyway. So now we come to this part, weeding. So I loosen the soil, either with a fork or with a broad fork, we loosen it well. And by trying to loosen the soil well, that's where you'll see you won't have the same ease depending on the type of soil you have. For me, with my sandy soil, it's very easy to do it anytime, even after a heavy rain. In the few hours that follow, the water drains quickly and the soil is easy to work. On the other hand, still, wait a few days for the soil to dry out. Basically, just imagine your soil, it has a particular structure, and the structure, basically, it's defined by the amount of porosity, the amount of air in your soil, so when it's dried out, it means it has rained. The soil is full of water while it's raining, and the water will eventually go down. The pores will refill with air. Dried out means all pores are filled with air, water has drained, and the soil isn't oversaturated. That sea will be something. You'll need to notice it. We're on sandy soil here, so it's not an issue. As soon as it has rained, you can go over it afterward, and the same goes the other way. If it's too dry, personally, you can clearly see when an area is too dry. We try to get in the fork or the broad fork, it doesn't go in because it's dry. A few hours before, I'll flood my area for a few hours. I pour a few watering cans there. The amount of water, what is it? About 1 watering can per square meter, something like that. So 10 liters per square meter, that's it for... Be careful not to use too much. For clay soil, apply it 2 or 3 days ahead, not just an hour before. And that way you let the soil soak up the water well and let it drain. Once that's done, we loosen it well, we break it up nicely. I like that. With the broad fork, lift a little, then shake the broad fork a bit. To really break up the clumps with the fork, it's the same one way or the other, and then we really try to break up those clumps. It's not just aerating, we want loose soil. After that, weeding becomes much easier. Just pull out the weeds and shake off the soil. And try to weed them. You can see that after this step we have the seed bed with fine, ready soil. You can do something else which I find a bit more physical and you waste a bit more soil. It's just with a hoe. For example, you can break up the grassy layer on the surface, remove that layer of grass, put it to the side, but when you do that you also remove a lot of soil. So that's how it is now. Personally, I prefer the method where you loosen all the soil like that. It stays on. When you pull out the weeds, you just have to shake the weeds and keep the soil. And the weeds, so we keep them on the side, and we'll use them again later, you'll see. So whatever the weed is, whether it's couch grass, whether it's cinquefoil, whatever it is, remove everything. Try to have the cleanest soil possible. There will be fewer problems later. It's not mandatory to weed completely, but I like not having to come back and weed again, so I like it to be clean. So I remove everything. I keep the weeds on the side and I end up with my bed of soma. It's ready. So there you go. We've finished on an area that's about 1 meter wide, let's say something like that, about the width of a broad fork. So basically for me it's more or less the width of a growing bed. You'll need to adjust the width of your growing beds. Ideally, you should be able to reach the middle of the growing bed from either side. If it's wider and you can't reach the middle without leaning, you'll end up compacting the soil. So ideally, it should be about 1 meter, 1 meter 20 wide. So here, as you saw, I really loosened the soil deeply with the broad fork and removed all the roots that were in the topsoil, so on the surface. So really all the roots. So here there is a lot of couch grass, right? This is a meadow with a lot of couch grass. And so all these roots, I keep them aside. Then we will be able to cover it. I don't put much compost anymore. I don't use a lot of compost. You can use some, it's not a problem to use it. Then I usually stack the layers back on in a specific order. Make sure to separate all of that. These are the roots I pulled out of the ground, so definitely don't put them underneath, otherwise they'll grow back. We'd add compost first if needed. Then I mulch first with green material, so the grass clippings I used, well, the grass I removed from this area, I spread it evenly over the whole surface. This, as it decomposes, will provide me with a lot of nitrogen. It's very nutritious. If you have straw, you can put it on top. Subtitling 501. And we are done. By putting the roots of the plants, everything we've weeded, that will eventually decompose too and add organic matter. But especially by putting them on top and above the mulch, they'll dry out there in the sun, and at least they won't risk growing back. Couch grass roots that dry out in the sun for a day won't grow back afterward. That's all there is to it. Normally, if we've done it right, though maybe I didn't this time, if we did the job right earlier, we already removed all soil from the roots. There's no risk of it returning. So I'm really going to mulch the growing area a lot. It needs to be thick enough so that light can't get through. And a very important thing, I'm going to mulch the paths as well. So I really told you to weed and loosen the area you're going to cultivate. As for the paths, I like to let the grass spill over a bit onto the paths, but really there shouldn't be any grass on the edges of the paths next to the growing area to prevent the grass from coming back too quickly. Weeding the paths isn't necessary since you'll be covering and mulching them anyway. These are things I've explained in detail in other video series I've made about soil fertility. I always cover the paths, the grassy paths, whether there's grass, lawn or whatever plants are on the paths. They will eat water, well, they will drink water too. So when you water, when it rains, these grasses in the paths will soak up water. So the idea is not to have too many grasses growing there. If you leave the grasses, you'll also risk having those grasses recolonize your growing areas. So in the paths, there shouldn't be any plants. So always mulch. When you mulch, always let the mulch spill over into the paths. After that, I mulch both my growing area and path. And from there, if I don't have time to do more, if I don't have time to finish, anyway, the area is ready, it's prepared, it's a growing area, ready to be planted. So now we come to the growing part. How are we going to grow? What are we going to grow? And now I'm going to explain to you how I do it myself, almost exclusively today. I'm increasingly trying to do this. I realize that soil doesn't like to be bare, and soil that's just mulched. Soil needs plants growing in it. It should stay covered with vegetation as much as possible. Observe nature. There's never just mulch with a few scattered plants. Instead, plants grow everywhere. So just mulching, leaving mulch in place, and then just planting a few things. What are we doing? We're currently growing tomatoes and zucchinis. Simply move the mulch to plant is effective and works well. That's what I was doing until now, but in my opinion, there's a way to do even better. The idea is for the soil to be as covered with plants as possible. We use green manure, and another method I used was in the spring, very, very early, before the vegetable crops. We remove all mulch from the growing area and just push it onto the path without taking it far. If you've already mulched the path, it means that in the path you're going to have a very, very thick layer. It's not a problem, because in the end, this organic matter on the paths, which will slowly decompose, will bring nutrients to the soil, keep it alive, add carbon material, and increase the organic matter content. In short, there are lots and lots of advantages. The only drawback will be at the beginning. If it's too thick, you'll walk on it and it's not practical, but it settles quickly. and it's a reserve of organic matter that's on the path, so you just move it aside and expose your growing area. So what I used to do in the spring was this: I would do that and then sow a green manure crop over the whole area. Once the green manure was well developed, I would mow it down if I needed to cultivate, leave it on the soil and plant whatever I needed to put there. Or sometimes I would just mow along the rows where I wanted to plant. Basically, I would do my planting right in the green manure. And so the day I want to come back and plant something in there, all I'll have to do is clear that out. And that's it. And here we have a bed that's ready to be planted. The soil is very loose. It's perfect to have a good seed bed. Aerating the soil activates aerobic bacteria, which will mineralize everything possible in the soil. And so at the beginning, this soil will be very, very fertile when starting out. Adding extra mulch on the sides means that even the unweeded grass underneath likely won't grow back easily through that. There you go, we have a bed that's well surrounded, well protected, soil that's nice and loose, and we're ready to go. Now, when I start my crops, I immediately plant things in it, so I'm going back to the beginning. In summary, I remove mulch from my planting areas and leave them bare. I sow my green manure, and then directly in there I plant what I have planted, depending on the season: tomatoes, cabbages, zucchinis. So I'm going to put my plants, my already developed vegetables in there after having sown a green manure, and from there I try to make sure that at least at the beginning the area stays moist. So if it's possible to do it before a period of rain, that's very good. If it's not rainy, I'll keep the soil moist for the first few days by watering almost daily, depending on the weather, which rarely changes. If you do that, be careful. Depending on your plants, you might have issues with slugs and snails, so watch out. And so there, your crops will quickly start to grow. The soil will start to be covered by the green manure you have sown, and the whole area will become vegetated. From now on, you'll need to manage this green manure with your crops. If by chance you have green manure growing too quickly and it's going to smother some of your crops, you'll need to pull them out a bit around your plants. Here I have some lettuce and pull some green manure around them, leaving it on the ground instead of moving it elsewhere. I always leave them on the ground and I make sure my plants get some light. This has many benefits. Little by little, by pulling all of this out or just cutting them at the base, I try not to pull them out. I cut them at the base and leave them on the ground. As it slowly decomposes, it will add organic matter and support underground roots. As it decomposes, it provides nutrients and gradually mineralizes. So it's really interesting, but it will have another benefit. The fact of stressing, well, that's something I noticed, but I wouldn't even know how to explain it to you in detail. But by stressing your green manure, by preventing it from growing, it's going to create a burst of energy. Everything tends to crowd out your cultivated plants, including green manure. And if you stress certain plants or prevent them from growing, the loss that occurs on those plants, the energy they didn't take, the nutrients they didn't take from the soil will be sent back to your crops. And so it will gradually stimulate them. So it's something that works quite well. Then it has other benefits. I'm sure there are many benefits. We don't even realize it. But anyway, know that if your soil is covered with plants and you manage to handle it as you go along, manage green manures to boost your crops. It's highly effective. Now I'm going to share with you 2 or 3 little tips that I have, some little tricks that I've developed, which in my opinion are quite practical, and then fun. You'll see I really enjoy here in the garden, having fun trying to find the most. We focus on growing many vegetables using simple, efficient and productive techniques. So one of the things I do now is, when I sow cover crops, I buy mixes of green manure seeds. For anyone wondering, I buy from agro cements because of their good prices and interesting mixes. They have quite a few things that I like, so I get them from there. I don't use them as they are, I usually pick and choose. There are market garden mixes, there's the wolf mix and the market garden mix. These mixes contain many melliferous plants, but mostly plants that are legumes which will enrich the soil with nitrogen. So if I may, sorry, just to clarify something, but it's not by growing green manure that you'll directly enrich your soil with nitrogen. Vegetables planted nearby won't benefit like that. Directly like that, it's a bit more complicated, but to try to sum it up, Legumes will form symbiosis at the root level with bacteria in the soil. These bacteria capture nitrogen gas from the air and convert it into organic nitrogen, which they provide to the plant they live in symbiosis with. So you plant legumes, and together with the bacteria, they will fix nitrogen so that the legume grows well, and that's you. Depending on how you manage your green manure afterwards, you will mow your green manure and leave it on the ground. The roots, as they decompose, will release nitrogen again, and the plant, as it decomposes, will also release nitrogen again. But the vegetable growing right next to it, when you mow it, won't immediately absorb the nitrogen. If you always grow green manure with legumes, on the other hand, well, in the long run, there will regularly be nitrogen released into the soil, and so your vegetables, little by little, will benefit from it. So when you grow green manure next to them, the vegetable doesn't gain from this green manure's nitrogen, but it does benefit from the earlier green manure. So in the end, it still ends up working. So I'm coming back to my green manure, mixing vegetables with legumes, and I add a lot of things in there. I produce quite a lot of seeds, so I add surplus lettuce seeds. I add aromatic seeds and any surplus ingredients to every salad I make. I mix all that together and I sow my green manure around my crops. Inside the tunnel I have zucchinis, tomatoes, cucumbers and other similar things. It's in a jumble of vegetation, and as I go along, for example, one day when I pick a lettuce or pick anything else, where a space becomes available, I look at all the green manure plants growing around, and usually there are herbs, there are lettuces growing, and instead of coming to replant a lettuce afterwards, well, I just have to select when I weed or trim my green manure plants at the base. I won't cut them all, I'll keep the ones I want to take over later. This way you don't need to clear a space, sow or plant lettuce there. Basically the lettuces there, just to take the example of the lettuces, that's mostly what I have in the tunnel, which has grown well. To take that example, the lettuces on the other hand are mixed in a jumble of plants, so they're kind of just vegetating, they don't have much space, so they're just kind of vegetating. But the day I free up some space, I pick the big lettuce that's next to it, and when I want one to come and take its place, well, when I weed the green manure around that little lettuce that was just sitting there in the middle of its green manure, if I pull everything out around it, if I mow everything around it and suddenly leave it all alone, it's the lettuce that will quickly take over. That allows to have some plus extra work time, because that way if we do it like this, we don't need to sow lettuce, we don't need to prepare them in the greenhouse next door or, well, in pots anywhere. But there you go, it's already in place, the plant is there, it's ready, it's waiting. So that's it. It's a technique I've been practicing for some time now and that I'm mastering more and more, and I really find it's super interesting, it's really productive, and it's really time efficient. Here's another I've been practicing for a short time, but it's already proving very effective. In my soil in particular I use certain fertilizers, but don't worry, I'm not going to buy fertilizers or anything. I make my own fertilizers. I have some waste I don't want to throw away into nature or down the drain, and so I have to do something with it, and so this waste becomes a fertilizer. So if I need fertilizer, I have it available. I tested it on some plants and I realized that it's very, very productive, so I use it. Maybe there are some who see it coming. The waste in question is urine. We all urinate. Let's not kid ourselves. We all urinate. If there's someone who doesn't urinate, go see someone next to you who does and collect some. We all urinate. Don't cough. I don't know how many dozens or hundreds of liters per year, but it's huge. Either we do it in the toilet and it disappears. Too bad. And on top of that, the treatment plants have to work behind the scenes to process all that. For me, it's a shame. Might as well keep it, especially when you see the benefits it can have and the nutritional value it can provide. In terms of nitrogen, it's huge, but also in terms of phosphorus. Phosphorus isn't found everywhere, so we might as well recover it to have some. Potash is always abundant in the soil, so you don't need to search for it. It's already quite complete. I don't just use urine, I use other things as well. We collected pigeon guano, so pigeon droppings, at the farm next door. I often collect chicken guano, so in the chicken coop we gather the droppings and we use that guano as well. We can spread it on the ground at the start of the season. Just be careful, it's very rich. You shouldn't put, I'd say, a big handful or even not a very big one. A handful is more than enough for 1 or 2 square meters. Now that's not how I use it, because the plants, the beds, are in full cultivation. I want something flashier and faster. It's done. You can see the plant's foliage turning green, right? You can already see the growth in the week that follows. It goes very, very fast. Now, I'm telling you, I don't do that. Especially in the garden, I do this for the plants that are struggling, that obviously need to be nourished, or for the plants that are heavy feeders. The heavy feeders are basically the Solanaceae, the Cucurbitaceae, especially the Solanaceae. That's all the tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, chilies, potatoes, and Cucurbitaceae plants. Squashes, zucchinis, melons, watermelons, and cucumbers are heavy feeders and will be more productive and grow better if fed more. Vigorous, like rich soils and rhubarbs. We're discussing perennials. Sorry for the tangent, but that's Solanaceae and Cucurbitaceae. Here, really, you'll see that it's very effective. So how do I do it? First of all, as for urine, I have a big trash can, you know, the black trash cans with a big lid. The lid is important, and that's my toilet. I urinate in it every day. I only collect mine and my partner's as well. By the way, I don't ask everyone to go pee in that trash can or anything. There could be a way to make toilets with urine collectors. That's the recovery technique. It's up to you to make your choice. I'll answer a question I get asked a lot right away, which is, does it stink? Isn't there a smell from doing that? Clearly, if it stinks, it stinks, it smells awful, it stinks. But sometimes to the point where I open the lid of the trash can to use it, there's a lot of ammonia. It's some pretty strong stuff, you know. Whatever comes out, it's sulfurous or something, but the smell is really strong, so be careful. I'm mainly discussing storage. After using it, just water once. Maybe when you fill the watering can, it's going to smell a bit in the watering can. Once you've watered with it, wait an hour or two and the smell is gone, so it's really just the urine during storage. Yeah, let's be honest about it. It smells horrible and strong at first, but once you use it, the odor goes away. So I store my urine in a trash can. The guano, it's dried, it's in bags or in buckets, it's dry for the guano. What I do is I put that in water, so I fill the bottom of a bucket and I add water. I let it soak for at least 24 hours beforehand. So that in the water, all the rich mineral materials mineralize in the water, or at least dissolve in the water. I'm not sure if mineralized is right or if it just dissolves in water. And there you go. And like that afterwards, I can collect it, I filter it, I collect this liquid, I mix it with urine, so urine and guano juice, just urine, just guano juice, that works too. Don't worry about it, just use what you have. Anyway, it's very rich and then very, very, very important. You have to dilute it. I use 5 to 10%, never more than 10%. So in my big watering cans, which hold 12 liters, I think, I put in a liter. I have a little jug, a small pitcher. I take some of this highly nitrogenous mixture. I put a liter of this urine and guano mix into my 11 or 12 liter watering can. So it's a little less than 10%. And then I water my vegetable crops. Not all the time. It's not for every watering, especially if you're watering by hand. You do this once every 3, 4 or 5 times, not every other time. That's already too much, so once in a while I'll give it a little shot like that, maybe once a month. If I water, I use very little, just enough, that's it. I'm referring to dry sunny times or harsh sunlight. I'm going to water the greenhouse, the vegetable crops that need a lot, mainly the Solanaceae and Cucurbitaceae and a few others, but mainly those. I'm going to water at most once a week, no more, so this watering with those liquids to add, it'll be once a month, maybe 3 times every 2 months, maybe just a bit more than once a month, but it's not necessary. Once a month, I think that's pretty good. And then you'll do other waterings without anything. If you have periods of rain, I like to wait for the rain to pass, then I give it a boost with a little extra watering there. Sometimes it's not even for watering. I'm not going to water with that. There was watering and heavy rain last night. We got 12 Manure just like today. So I think in the coming days, I'm going to add a little bit of nitrogen. I don't use much with this 10 to 12 liter watering can. I'll water a 5 meter long bed with it. I just put a small stream like that. It's very effective. There's always a risk with that. It's putting in too much, and if you put in too much, you burn your plants. So with a 10% maximum and a 10 liter watering can, you can cover a 5 meter bed. No need to add more. Even that will have a big effect. That's all. no further detail needed. The ways I use it, I could explain, but the idea is to let you be free to do your own experiments afterward. Don't hesitate to ask me your questions in the comments anyway. Oh, alright, I'll stop here for today. I think we're good now. I won't discuss crop associations now, that'll be in other videos. Here, it focused on creating growing areas and sharing tips for them. Productive, resilient, efficient, etc. I think there's already enough to do there. In this video I'm meeting you again. I wanted to say it would be very soon for other videos, but I'm not sure this time. I think during the summer it's going to be hard for me to be consistent. It's already been a good 10 days since I released a video. Right now I'm mostly doing research, I'm studying a lot, and I'm really in a period where things are progressing very, very well. The garden, we're having a great year. So right now I'm more in a period of research and study. That's it, in my garden, my books, and with those around me. That's why there won't be many videos coming soon. I was still working on it, so more videos are coming. I'm also working on other topics that seem interesting to me, which will be coming out soon. So I'll talk to you about all that very soon. I think within the week there will be another video coming out where I'll tell you about where I'm at, what are we doing. I'll tell you about the live stream that's coming soon. It's going to be good, at least I hope so, but I think it's going to be good. So I'll see you very, very soon. I hope you enjoyed and found this video useful. If you liked it, share and subscribe if it makes you happy. Either way, it makes me happy. For those who are interested, you can support me on the Tipeee platform. And once again, a big thank you to everyone who already does. It's thanks to you that I can do all this, and that I can take the time to do research alongside the videos, even if I'm not releasing videos. Thank you to everyone who supports me, really. It's very kind. Thank you for your trust. And anyway, I'll see you very soon for more sharing. During the summer, more videos, and then happy gardening to you. See you soon. Bye.